What do you feel when you do Ramadan?
I started doing it because I realized and read about the benefits of intermittent fasting.
It's good for the belly, right? What does iftar mean in Arab?
Contextually, it's the first meal of the day, right?
What do you prefer about Ramadan? The iftar or the fact that you cannot fight with each other? O Ramadã é uma prática comum do islamismo, é o 9º mês do calendário islâmico e é também quando os muçulmanos praticam o jejum. Beleza, Bruno, por que você está falando tudo isso para mim? Porque nós estamos em mais uma temporada de Ramadã e essa prática é feita por mais de 25% da população mundial. Tem bastante muçulmano no mundo. E nós estamos hoje com um casal muito curioso, um casal bem interessante. É a Lívia e o Saalem. É um casal formado por uma brasileira e um sírio vivendo no Kuwait. Ou Kuwait. Agora eu tô em dúvida. Bom, o Ramadã começou no dia 1º de abril. Como é que vai, pessoal? How are you guys?
Oi,
Oi, Bruni. Ramadan Kareem to all your viewers.
Ramadan Kareem.
É um prazer falar com vocês aqui. Eu vou falar um pouquinho em português agora nesse início. Daqui a pouco eu falo já em inglês, porque aí os dois podem entender ao mesmo tempo essa conversa que a gente vai ter. O Ramadã começou agora no dia 1º de abril, então nós estamos no 11º dia. How is the feeling now in having Ramadan? For you, Lívia, is the first time in the Middle East. How is the feeling for you now?
It's very interesting because it's my first time feeling that, and I just arrived here, so for me it's a very special month, also a welcoming month for me. And it's been awesome because I've been learning a lot about the culture, especially in this moment, because it's one of the most important moments in his life and his family life. So I'm very happy to experience that. I'm not fasting, but I've been eating a bit less, and I've been sharing with him these moments of breaking the fast.
Now you touch in a good point because you are not fasting. Saalem, for someone that is not Muslim, is that okay for doing a fasting, or is something that is just allowed to the Muslims?
So for me, it's not an issue at all if she eats in front of me. And if she were to go outside in public, it would be, more of an issue. She usually in Kuwait and some other more conservative Middle Eastern countries, during Ramadan, you don't eat out in public. Restaurants are not open during the hours when you're supposed to be fasting. So they'll only start catering around 1-2 hours before it's time to break the fast, so they can start preparing the orders. I can tell you that in the workplace, I work in a very big organization, and there's a lot of people who don't fast. So they would go to the kitchen or someplace secluded to eat. For me, I don't mind if people eat in front of me. Other people, they would mind. So you just need to be mindful, basically, in such scenarios.
Now I'm a little confused about when the Ramadan starts. When do you know it's time for Ramadan? Because I know it's something related to the moon, but it's a little bit complicated to understand this.
Okay, so basically we follow the Islamic calendar. Unlike the Roman calendar, we follow the lunar calendar. Basically, we follow a lunar calendar. So our year is less than 365 days. Now we have a month called the month of Ramadan. Okay, and it's during this month where we start our fast, and they look for. Now I'm not the best person to explain this technically, but what I know is that they look for a sign in the moon to determine the beginning of the month of Ramadan. It's usually not a full moon. It's like when it looks like the banana.
Yeah.
And there's a specific sign to determine when the month starts. Since as I mentioned, we follow the lunar calendar. Every year, Ramadan starts a few days earlier.
Okay.
And actually, Lívia pointed out, I did not know this, that I think in 2030, so a few years later, Ramadan will fall on January and December, so twice in 1 year.
Wow.
I follow a lot of people on Instagram who's doing Ramadan also to understand a bit more, and I'm learning with Saalem too, when it happens and what to do. It's always interesting.
Saalem, what do you feel when you do Ramadan?
Well, let me be honest with you. So this is supposed to be a very, very special and spiritual month for Muslims. Now, I frankly did not really observe consistently until a few years ago. And funny enough, I started doing it because I realized and read about the benefits of intermittent fasting, which has become such a craze nowadays in the world. But Muslims have been doing this since, more than 1,000 years ago.
It's good for the belly, right?
Not only good for the belly, good for recentering the body and the mind. So let me tell you some of the things that I feel. And I noticed this very, very strongly, actually. When I start fasting, my focus at work is much, much better. I'm much more sharp at work and more focused. I think it's related to the fact that my body's not, how do you say, digesting food. So
It's not busy, right?
Not busy. Our Portuguese speakers. It's not. It's not busy. Yeah. So
go ahead.
I'm more focused, and although the last 1 or 2 hours at work, my energy levels dip, they go down logically, but more focused, more calm. We're supposed to pray more. So my parents, they're reading a lot of Quran during Ramadan. They often go to the mosque. We're supposed to refrain from any negative things, including swear words. Like
Giving food for people.
yeah, and like Lívia noticed that when you look at some of the mosques, and they give out food to anyone that wants food. You don't have to be poor. You just need to go wait in line, and they'll give out food. So it's the month of giving and generosity.
Okay, so just to complement what I said at the beginning of the interview about Ramadan, what are the restrictions regarding the ritual? I know it's not all about the food. That's something else. As you said, you have a different kind of temper during this time.
Definitely. So basically, what people know of Ramadan is that we're supposed to refrain from food and drink from sunrise until sunset. But actually, that's only one small component of fasting. It also involves refraining from negative. I don't want to say negative deeds, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to use that. So, for example, looking like, and this again, I'm talking from a religious perspective. So, looking at a woman.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yes, looking at a woman in an inappropriate manner. Okay, you know how guys can be, right? So you're supposed to refrain.
The malicious eye.
Exactly. The free eye, as we say in Arabic. Okay. So you're supposed to avoid that. Avoid speaking with foul language. Avoid sex, even if it's with your partner. You can have that after you break the fast. But during the fast, that's one of the things that if you do it.
But then you have to eat before, because you don't have energy.
Actually, surprisingly, the body, you'll be surprised. The body during fasting, it goes into fight or flight mode. So the energy, if you need the energy, it's there, but you're not supposed to use the energy in that way until after you break the fast.
Some people go to gym.
Yeah. Some people go to gym during fasting. Yeah.
That's curious.
Minors, minors are not obliged to fast. So once you reach puberty, technically, is when you're obliged to start doing your religious duties, and one of them is fasting. For women, if a woman is on her period, she doesn't fast. Obviously, if you're an elderly person or if you're sick with medication, you're not obliged to fast. It's only for the ones who are physically capable and they are of the specific age, which is obviously after puberty, you know?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not really too hard.
Honestly, Bruno, it's all mental. Like people, unfortunately, here during Ramadan in the Arab world, work is almost like, I don't want to say non-existent, but in the business world, and I notice it every day, the output is lower. The output at work is lower, and they use it as an excuse. Oh, I'm fasting, I'm tired, I cannot focus. I told you, for me, it's different. I really notice an increase in my sharpness when I work, so I actually get more done.
You are a machine guy.
And also, you're supposed to, when you break your fast, the whole point of fasting also is to try to feel what the less fortunate people feel every day. Obviously, we're blessed, and we're blessed with food and water on a daily basis. Some people don't have that, so it's also a point to try to put ourselves in their shoes, so we can feel grateful for the blessings we have, for the blessings that God has given us. But unfortunately, it's become part of the culture. I don't want to mix it with the religion, but it's become cultural that when you break the fast, you're not eating the whole day, but then when you break the fast, you are eating, you are like making up for, and people eat so much, and that's not the point of fasting. What more conservative people or more people who understand the concept of fasting, they will break their fast with some dates, so tamaha, and some laban, which is basically liquid yogurt. Then they will go do the prayer, because it's the Maghrib prayer. The Maghrib prayer, which is the fourth prayer of the day, it signifies when you are allowed to eat. That's when you can break your fast. But in contemporary times, people are having huge feasts, filling their bellies up, and they're missing the concept and the point of fasting, unfortunately. Which we did yesterday.
As you are mentioning this special meal, what does iftar mean in Arab?
Iftar, basically, so the source of the word means breakfast, okay? But iftar in this context, because it's our first meal of the day, right?
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, because breakfast is yes.
Exactly. In this context, it doesn't mean breakfast, but it means you're breaking your fast with iftar. But contextually, it's the first meal of the day, right?
Okay, let me ask you something. What do you prefer about Ramadan? The iftar or the fact that you cannot fight with each other during a month?
We don't fight.
We never fight.
Oh.
But I understand what Bruno's saying.
That's
what
cute.
Saying is that you're supposed to observe these behaviors during Ramadan, which is true.
Not only in Ramadan, but the whole year.
So people with a very foul tongue, they like in Ramadan, they will try to refrain from using their tongue freely. Similarly, like Bruno was mentioning, that maybe some couples will try to be nicer to each other because it's a special month, and then when Ramadan is finished,
it sounds like a therapy.
Yes, it's like a therapy in a way.
But you're supposed to do things that you do in Ramadan also during the year, no?
Yeah, so I'm not much different.
Supposedly, yeah, that's true.
Maybe the fasting, it's especially in this month, right?
Yes.
But
personally, if you were to ask me to answer your question, I look forward to the iftar because I don't really behave much differently during Ramadan. Unfortunately, I'm still using some bad words at work. Maybe we're waiting till after 6 p.m. to do some things. Maybe you can edit this from the video, but yeah, I look forward more to the iftar, basically.
Okay, and just to finish, guys, because I'm assuming that you guys are starving and waiting for the iftar. What's the most curious thing that happened to you during I'm mixing the pronunciation, sorry. During Ramadan?
I can tell you a funny story, Bruno. So I told you when I was younger, I was not consistent. Okay, so I remember an incident where, so I would eat and drink, but then I had to go and have iftar with my family. So they were assuming that I was fasting, right?
Okay.
So there was one incident I remember when I came back from school. I was still in high school, and I was not fasting that particular day, but obviously my parents did not know. And so we were preparing the food for iftar, and my mom was making shrimps, and I love shrimps. Camarão. Okay.
Camarão.
Camarão. I love shrimps. So when I saw it on the table, I noticed that my mom left the kitchen, so I took one quickly and I ate it. But by that time, she came back to the kitchen, so I didn't have time to swallow it. So it was in my mouth, and my mom was talking to me and and asking me how my day was, and I was not answering. And then she's like, Saalem, what's wrong? So I just had to. My response was I opened my mouth, and she saw there was food in my mouth, and she got very upset, and she went to complain to my dad.
All right. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for all this explanation, and happy Ramadan. Do you say this to each other? Happy Ramadan?
Ramadan Karim or Ramadan
Mubarak.
Ramadan, say that again. Mubarak.
Which means blessed. Have a blessed Ramadan.
Okay.
Or Ramadan Karim.
And that is one that I know. Assalamu alaikum.
Ma'assalam, Bruno. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you guys, my pleasure. Esse aqui é o casal Lívia e Saalem, gente, direto do Kuwait. Valeu!